Elon Musk has recently expressed concern over the Panama Canal, shocked by what's happening to this vital trade route. Once controlled by the U.S. before being handed over to Panama in 1999, the canal has faced mounting challenges, including skyrocketing fees that have upset American shipping companies. Even Donald Trump once threatened to seize control of it if prices weren't lowered. But why is Musk now so focused on this issue? Let's dive into the controversy surrounding the canal and Musk's take on its future. On December 22, as president-elect, Donald Trump made waves by criticizing Panama for its high canal fees. At a rally in Arizona, he accused Panama of charging excessive rates that hurt American businesses by making it more expensive to move goods between the Atlantic and Pacific. Trump warned that if fees weren't reduced, the U.S. might demand control of the canal once again. He even suggested that countries like China might be benefiting from these high costs at America's expense. However, Panama's president José Raúl Mulino firmly denied these claims, stating that the canal remains under Panama's control and that there would be no negotiations to return it to the U.S. Elon Musk, known for his outspoken opinions, weighed in on the issue. Sources say he believes the high fees stem from deeper problems like water shortages, security concerns, and political tensions, forcing Panama to rely on steep charges to cover its costs. Musk's comments add another layer to this tense situation, which has sparked heated debates over U.S. relations with Panama. To fully understand the Panama Canal story, we must look back to 1513 when explorers first envisioned a path connecting the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. In October 1513, Spanish explorer Vasco Núñez de Balboa crossed the Isthmus of Panama and discovered a narrow strip of land separating the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. He believed it was possible to create a waterway connecting the two oceans, an idea that excited many explorers. Such a passage would drastically cut travel time between Europe and Asia, avoiding the dangerous southern tip of South America, where storms and sea monsters claimed countless lives. Although the concept attracted interest, no real progress was made for centuries. The harsh terrain, thick jungles, steep mountains, and tropical climate, combined with limited technology, stalled any efforts until the late 19th century. In 1881, over 300 years after Vasco's discovery, French engineers led by Ferdinand de Lesseps attempted to build a sea-level canal inspired by their success with the Suez Canal. However, the challenges were far greater than anticipated. Workers fell ill from malaria and yellow fever, and tropical rains caused landslides, making the dense jungle nearly impossible to excavate. Unlike the sandy deserts of Egypt, Panama's uneven, dense landscape pushed costs through the roof. Corruption and mismanagement only worsened the situation, and by 1889, the project had lost over 20,000 workers to disease and was abandoned. In 1901, U.S. President Theodore Roosevelt revived the project, recognizing its strategic importance for trade and military use. The key challenge was that Panama wasn't yet independent from Colombia. Seizing the opportunity, the U.S. supported Panama's independence in 1903. In return, Panama granted the U.S. control of the canal zone. Construction began in 1904 under American engineer John Stevens. Learning from the French failure, Stevens prioritized worker welfare, focusing on housing, sanitation, and medical care. He brought in top U.S. military doctors to combat the spread of malaria and yellow fever, ensuring the workforce was prepared for the monumental task ahead. Realizing the difficulty of digging a sea-level canal, Stevens and his team opted for a lock-based system. This approach lifted ships to higher elevations and lowered them back down, enabling passage through steep slopes and valleys at a lower cost. By 1906, progress was made, but challenges persisted. Tensions rose between U.S. President Theodore Roosevelt and John Stevens. Initially, the administration provided resources, but later they seemed to interfere. Reports suggest the president disagreed with Stevens' decisions and pushed for unwanted contractors. Under stress, Stevens fell ill and resigned in 1907, passing leadership to George Washington Goethals. George continued Stevens' work, using steam shovels and dynamite to tackle the challenging Culebra Cut. Despite new methods, equipment failures, landslides, and yellow fever claimed nearly 5,000 workers' lives. Yet after a decade of hardships, the Panama Canal opened on August 15, 1914, marked by the SS Ancon's historic passage. Travel between the Atlantic and Pacific now took just 8 hours instead of 2 months, cementing this as a monumental achievement. From its opening, the U.S. controlled the canal and its surrounding zone, using it strategically for military and trade operations, especially during wartime. Over the next 50 years, the canal became a critical route, benefiting Panama through U.S. compensation. However, in the late 1960s, Panamanian President Omar Torrijos sought full sovereignty over the canal, leading to negotiations with U.S. President Richard Nixon. The 1977 Torrijos-Carter treaties gradually transferred control, culminating in Panama's full ownership by December 31, 1999. Once in control, Panama increased shipping fees, including for major U.S. companies like Maersk and Costco. Despite complaints, Panama justified the hikes as necessary for maintaining and upgrading the canal, ensuring it could handle future demands. Shipping companies adjusted to rising fees, but costs kept climbing into the mid-2000s. By then, disputes had escalated, with private negotiations taking place to make tolls more affordable. Despite these efforts, the Panama Canal Authority announced another steep price hike in early 2016, sparking criticism from U.S. shipping companies. The agency explained that the funds were needed to complete their canal expansion project, which was finished later that year. However, prices never returned to pre-expansion levels. By the early 2020s, the hikes continued. In 2023, fees for ships under 65 feet rose by over 10%, with a projected increase of nearly 30% by 2025. Many pointed out that when the U.S. controlled the canal, prices stayed stable for decades until Panama began taking over in the 1970s. This frustration peaked when Donald Trump publicly criticized Panama, threatening to reclaim control if the overcharging persisted. He even accused Panama of favoring China over the U.S. Panama's president, José Raúl Mulino, dismissed Trump's remarks, asserting the nation's sovereign control over the canal and refusing to renegotiate. He defended the tolls, explaining they were calculated based on operating costs and market conditions to ensure the canal's sustainability. Elon Musk, heading the Department of Government Efficiency, weighed in, highlighting significant challenges. Droughts and water shortages, especially since 2019, have made operations tougher. Prolonged dry seasons forced the Panama Canal Authority to conserve water, slowing ship transit and stressing the infrastructure, which increased maintenance costs. The canal also suffered from economic disruptions, particularly during the 2020 pandemic when global trade slowed dramatically. Even years later, the canal is still recovering, with further toll increases planned to offset losses. With over 20 large ships transporting vital oil and gas daily, concerns about energy security are growing. Droughts, trade disruptions, and geopolitical tensions threaten the canal's future. Musk stated that modernizing the canal is critical, as much of its infrastructure is over a century old. Despite upgrades since 2016, the issues remain unresolved, and the situation could worsen without long-term solutions. Musk pointed out that fixing the issue would cost a fortune. If Panama raises funds by increasing fees for shipping companies already complaining, it might drive traffic away from the canal entirely. Even with the money, the canal would need to shut down completely for repairs. It took a decade to build in 1914, and even with modern technology, it could still take years to fix. Elon's comments caught many by surprise, hinting at why canal fees are so high for American ships. While nothing is officially confirmed, Donald Trump's bold rhetoric suggests he might take drastic steps. At the Arizona rally on December 22, Trump hinted at pushing for renegotiations with Panama, possibly forcing deals the U.S. can't refuse. Trump seems determined to reclaim some of the control the U.S. had for over 50 years despite Panama's resistance. With his inauguration on January 20, the world waits to see his plans for the canal. So what do you think? Could Trump actually take back the Panama Canal, or is this just another stunt? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed the video. Subscribe to our channel for more educational content. Thanks for watching.